Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Expansive CEO podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Chapman, here with my beautiful co host, Lauren Ammon. And today we've actually got a special episode. We get to do these every once in a while where we bring on a guest and do a live reading that really helps us understand them and their business even more. So I am so excited for this. We're going to get right in. And our guest today, her name is Marni Mae. You're going to love her so much. I've had so much fun getting to know her. She's a transformational musician and a voice activator who helps open-hearted leaders attune to their own purpose so that they can amplify their voice and increase their impact in the world. And Marni, when we were looking at your chart, just to kind of prep for it, it's like, duh, of course. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I love
So
that.
thank you for being here. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I love the premise of this show. I go on and do a lot of podcasts, and it's often answering specific questions, but it's really nice to actually be receiving a reading about myself and then looking at that in the context of the work I'm doing in the world. So I'm super excited for this. Yeah.
Yay.
Yay.
Lauren, how are you today?
Oh, I'm great. I'm excited. I love doing these things, and looking at Marnie's chart. It's very unique, it's very individual, and
Mm,
love to walk through the journey of how she got here and how it's reflected in her energy.
mm.
Ooh, beautiful. Okay, so Lauren, actually, if you're listening on, a podcast platform, we're going to talk through it with you as we usually do. But if you want to go on YouTube and see a little bit more what we're talking about, you are welcome to head over to Expansive CEO on YouTube as well, so that you can see if you're a visual learner. So, Lauren, can you pull up Marnie's chart and we'll
Absolutely.
we'll dive in there because Marnie
All of our
is
collective followers will need the visual.
right. It's important, important. So
Ooh,
there, aren't you so beautiful? So beautiful. Every
so many
time,
colors.
every time I see a chart, I'm like, oh, look at that.
Yes.
Um, so Lauren, do you want to walk us through kind of just like the basics that you're seeing?
Yes, absolutely. So, Marnie, you're a 1-3 splenic projector. First and foremost, always leading with type. Everything comes back to type, strategy, and authority. So, from a type standpoint, you are a projector. You are here to be invited, to be recognized for your gifts and talents. And oftentimes, I know you know a little bit about human design and have, dangerous enough to understand, and oftentimes what Hannah and I hear from projectors is something like, oh, I have to wait for the invitation. But the beauty of that is because as a projector, your aura is penetrating and absorbing. Like it is going into another human being's energy and kind of like digging around and seeing what's going on. Like you go to the heart of someone's identity. And that's why the strategy is to wait for the invitation is that we can others, Hannah and I are generators. So whether we know it or not, though we kind of know it mechanically, we can feel a projector kind of inside. It's kind of like, whoa, 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 not ready to show what's behind the curtain a little bit. And that's really what the beauty of the invitation is to allow the other person to invite you in so that as you're experiencing their energy, as you're looking at them through their energy, you can be the most correct in providing guidance and being a teacher and supporting others in increasing their impact based on what you see. So it's fitting that what you do is really aligned to your type because you're here to see inside of other people. You're here to see the system of who someone is so that you can guide them in the most appropriate way. And then your authority is splenic, right? You're here to be guided through your own intuition, your own instinct, that in the moment now invitation of, oh yes, it's correct for me to be invited in and to accept this invitation because it's safe, healthy, and secure for me. This person has invited me in. I now feel safe and secure to support them in understanding who they are so that I can guide them. And then being a 1-3, this is your profile. Um, you're an investigator martyr. I'm similar. I'm a 1-3. I just happen to be a generator. We're here to the one line of us, the investigator, is here to go really deep. It's to really understand what is the foundation that I'm standing on. How do I feel secure? And not secure in the sense of self-worth, though that can be a part of it. It's more about like, do I feel secure in what I'm talking about? Do I feel secure in the
Mm,
gifts I'm bringing to the world? Do I feel
mm,
secure in sharing what I know to be true, whether for myself or whether for another person, being a projector? Do I feel as if I'm standing on a solid foundation? And then the martyr side, the 3 side is, I like to say it this way, I kind of got to go and fuck around to find out, right? It's this
yeah.
idea that, you know, the
Absolutely.
the flip side of that is, oh, 3 is like, I got to go experiment for it myself. I have to experience it for myself. I can't just hear someone say something and just accept that as truth. I have to go out and see how this is going. And so the way that those 2 work together is like, do I need to go experiment in order to make my foundation a little bit more solid? Right? What is it that I've got to go figure out to myself to keep adding to my foundation so that I feel as secure as I possibly can in sharing my gifts and then sharing with other people? And then, really looking at it too is your definition, right? You have a defined head, you have a defined ajna. So the way that you intake information and process information is very specific. It's very fixed. It's on the channel of awareness. So um, it's more about knowing in the now. Your mind is constantly cycling through kind of the inner truths of the world. What are the mysteries that I'm here to solve? And you'll keep returning and returning and returning and returning until one day, oh, I know what those inner mysteries are. And let me go share that. And again, we'll go into the nuances of what this all means, but you also have the channel of initiation, a design of being first. And a lot of times people interpret that as, um, I've got to be first. It's a competition. It's not that. It's more about, for you, the invitation to, in the moment, leap into the void, go figure something out for yourself. It's not to be the first compared to everybody else. It's to be the first so that you can go experiment and build your foundation. It's
Yeah.
always tying back to everything. The biggest nuances, your type, your strategy, and authority, as well as your profile. And you also have the channel of surrender, a design of a transmitter. It's the
Mm,
entrepreneurial channel of, you have the willful manipulation to understand what the tribe needs in order to keep moving forward. What is it that I can sell you? What is it that I can manipulate you into believing that you need in order to keep moving forward? And that's not a bad thing. It's kind of rooted in that individualism and that awareness that you have of that in the moment knowing, oh, by the way, I've gone out and I've tried it myself. Tribe, here's how we continue to move forward. And then kind of the last little nuance, and I know this is very fast and this is not necessarily the most in-depth reading, but this is to help kind of
I
a
know this is
launching
great.
point.
I'm like getting ready to take notes. I'm like, oh wow. Uh-huh.
And really looking at your not self too. So all of your open centers. So your throat center being open, looking at it from a not self standpoint. Your mind will convince you, I need to go gain attraction. I need to get attention. People need to hear what I have to say because if I wait for the invitation, they're never going to hear the valuable things that I have inside of me to share. You also have an undefined sacral, never knowing was enough is enough. Always kind of that energizer bunny of trying to keep up with the world. And if I don't, and if I rest, then quote unquote bad things will happen. You also have an undefined root. So not only do you not necessarily know when is enough enough, and when I say you, I mean your energy. Your energy doesn't always know when enough is enough. Your open root is like, well, I just have to get everything done as quickly as I possibly can. There's just so much pressure that I'm just going to not only rush around, but I'm going to make sure that I get it done as quickly as possible, believing that the faster I get it done, the the more that I'll relieve the pressure, which isn't necessarily true, as I'm sure you've experienced in your life. And then finally, looking
Yeah.
at your undefined solar plexus is you have the potential to avoid confrontation and truth of from a not self standpoint of trying to um push aside or not look at or not confront the emotional experiences of life, thinking that if I just leave it over here, if I just push it down, or if I just look away and just not know that it's there, oh, well, then I won't have to deal with it. And, part of this is bringing all of this together. It's not like your energy is like, we do this thing, and then we do this
Right.
thing, and then it's
Right.
it's it's a culmination of all of these things together. And as we get deeper into the conversation, we can start to layer how all of this fits together, but recognizing that your openness will try to override your definition. Like your openness is I'm not I'm not enough, so I have to go be this thing, where oftentimes your definition is, well, that's not enough either. That's too small. I can't deal with that. But also recognizing that you in totality is what allows you to be this magnificent voice coach, which is really interesting, having an undefined throat and the wisdom that you gain not having consistent and reliable energy in your throat center.
Mm.
Wow. That's incredible, and it felt very accurate, and like you said, I've received human design readings before, so I am familiar to some degree, and it is so cool to hear you pull it all together, and I'm excited to go deeper into how it all works and relates to the work I'm doing in the world. Can I share a couple of things that kind of stuck out to me?
Always.
Yes, please.
So, it was interesting. One of the things that really felt poignant is around this going first. What I've noticed, because I've been studying leadership and teaching leadership for the last 20 years. And what I've noticed is that there's a bunch of different types and styles of leaders. And some where I find that they do what other people do and they bring people along that path and that journey of something that's like, yes, this is proven. This is what success looks like. This is the path. And they're still leaders in their own right. I haven't been able to do that in my life. And I've noticed that I have to go first. And it's not like it's like I'm blessed to go first in a way where it's like there isn't exactly a charted path for what I'm doing. When it comes to, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but soul songs, for example, I hear music around people that I interpret as the essence of their soul. It's not like someone taught me that and showed me what the right curriculum to develop and to figure that out was. It was like it came to me. And then all of a sudden, I had no option but to follow that path. And it's been the same. And when I've tried to follow someone else's path, or coming back to the projector, trying to force myself on people, because you're right, that open definition that says, one, that I need to go quicker, and also that people need to hear me. I absolutely have that thought in my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing a disservice by not getting more people to listen to me. And it's interesting because it's part of the premise of my work is that actually, if we're not using our voice, if we're not opening our throat and sharing our message, it's selfish because there are people who are waiting for it. The distinction is not forcing myself on somebody, but rather, yes, making myself available to the degrees that it's appropriate, right? In my own personal life, but also with the work I'm sharing in the world. But then letting people come to me. And I do notice that there's this like magnetism, right? People are like, ooh, there's something here I'd like to learn more. And then it's much more successful of an interaction when I then go into something versus I'm like, hey, I see you. Because I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but one of the gifts that I've been given is I see my soul family. I like recognize people who I'm here to make an impact with. And so I'm like, why don't you see it yet? Let's go. And then it's like, wait, maybe it's not the right time, or that interpretation might not be in service in this moment. And so letting people also come to me has been a very powerful shift. So all of this totally resonates. I love it. And yeah, I can't wait to hear more, especially about this split. This is the first time I'm hearing about split. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's actually where I wanted to go
Yes.
next with that, because this is, I think, um, when I'm looking at your chart, I also, like, things intuitively jump out at me when I'm looking at someone's chart. Um, Lauren is fully, has been through the full analyst training. It took
So
several
cool.
years, and like has this beautiful, the way that she runs through it. And I'm the manifesting generator that like had to go and learn everything in different orders.
Meanwhile, my projector ADD would just be like, "Bah, you tell me what it is." You know?
Right? It's perfect. It's such a good combination.
Yeah.
But when I'm sitting and, like, looking at a chart, I see what's the thing that is just, like, beaming at me to drawing my attention, and for me, it is your throat. Because this is we've talked about splits on the podcast before. This one is a wide split. So, listener, if you need to take a pause, put a pause, go grab your chart and go see if you have this feature as well. It's when you have different clusters of centers that do connect, but then they can't they can't get to each other. You couldn't connect one center or one cluster to another cluster without having to go through a whole open center. So in Marnie's chart where we're looking right now, she's got that crown and ajna, the top two, and then the throat is undefined, and then below that is the G center, the ego, and the splenic center, all on one little circuit. So that means in order to connect the G or the ego or the spleen up to the crown and the ajna, it's got to get through the throat first. So that's what the wide split means. You've got at least one center in between your clusters. The other feature that's really interesting for you is that you've got the gate 11 pointing down to your throat, putting pressure on the throat, and then you've got the gate 1 on the G center pointing up toward the throat, putting pressure on the throat. And then the only gate that you have is that gate 12 on the throat center itself. So you've actually got a lot of pressure pointing in that then says, you've got an undefined throat, um, of that trying to attract attention.
Mhm.
The undefined throat is like, I gotta, what am I supposed to say? How am I gonna get your attention? So for a projector, again, tying it all back to your projector-ness, that's a wound anyway, right? It's like, am I gonna get the invitation?
Yep,
And I have to take
absolutely.
all the invitations because what if it doesn't come again, right?
That scarcity, yeah.
Right, and it's of attention, like being worried about not getting enough attention,
Mhm.
and again, you've got, like, literal pressure points pushing into that as well, and so the other aspect of that, I actually wanted you to tell a little bit of your story here
Okay.
of, how you found your voice
Mm,
and how from being, a little bit younger when we spoke earlier this week, you shared, feeling like nobody wants to hear me. This is not, I'm not supposed to be a musician.
mhm.
Um, to then, how did that happen? Can you give us that little
I
story?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, I love attention, so I love talking about myself, so absolutely, it would be a
Here's your
pleasure.
invitation, baby.
Thanks for inviting me. So, my story starts, I think, around my voice when I was really young. I think when I remember the first time I wrote a song was when I was 10 years old, maybe 9 or 10 years old. I wrote my first song, and at the time, you could not convince me I wasn't gonna be the next Britney Spears or some kind of a pop star on Disney or wherever else I was gonna go. And I was really clear that singing and performing were what I wanted to do. Then it was nurtured to a degree, but also to a degree not within my family unit. And then I went to middle school and I had a great chorus. And just a note to any like voice teachers, choir teachers in school systems, like you guys make such a difference in people's lives for the better and for the worse, right? It's such a massive responsibility. And I think at a young age, I was blessed that I had a choir teacher who was so encouraging until I went to high school. And then I was rejected from every single singing group. And so I interpreted that as that my voice was no good. No one wanted to hear it. And at some point, I also had the feeling like my voice could hurt people. And if we get a little woo woo about it, there's a few specific fears and blocks that we say that I say we have around our voice, right? Things that stop us from sharing and connecting authentically with it. And One of those relates back to a wound that I'll call like the Atlantis wound. So people will say that back in the times of like Lemuria and Atlantis, for those who believe in that, many, many years ago, there were these places that were scientifically advanced that are now underwater. And there's a belief amongst these people that there was so much power and so much sophistication in the scientific advancements that the power got to people's leaders' heads to the point where they were self-destructive and they hurt others. And so one of the blocks or fears that stops people, in my experience, from sharing their voice is a fear of hurting themselves or someone else. And I think at some point I developed this belief that my voice was going to hurt people. So fast forward, I got out of performing. I got out of singing. I was rejected also in middle school from like all the show choir things. So at some point I was just like, yeah, I am not good enough. Like nobody cares. And so I went to consulting, which is where, given this chart, it makes so much sense, right? Like I was looking for love. I was looking for something that would feel stable as a way of receiving love that helped me fit in. And so I was a consultant. I did have that entrepreneurial like desire and drive. I studied entrepreneurship in school and I had a business plan that was ready to go. I had investors and I was too scared. So I decided I'm going to go consult and it was great and I'm so grateful I went that route, right? So when I was consulting, it was very much about how do I fit in? And I got engaged to somebody and we traveled the world together and when we came back, found out that he was gay and had been cheating on me for most of our relationship. And when I learned that, I realized I wasn't using my voice. I was, in fact, just self abandoning the whole time because I was still looking for that love. I wanted to belong. I wanted to have what everyone said that I should have around the white picket fence life. So I went back to consulting, got into Google as at Accenture. And when I was at Google and I was unhappy, I was like, how can I be at the happiest place to work and still be miserable? And so I realized maybe it's not the environment and it was in me, a soul misalignment. And so I decided I was going to travel the world and study mysticism for 8 months so I could heal myself in 8 months and then heal the world.
That easy.
Very ambitious. Like you said, the faster I could do something, the better. And so I also had no plan going into it. I was like, okay, I have a few things I was going to do, but then I was going to allow, whatever path wanted to unfold to unfold. But I was still very much in my consultant brain. So I was strategizing and what is this saying? People make plans and God laughs. So I start on this path of healing myself so I can go and save everybody else. And then I end up meeting a woman named Mama Rosa, who is a medicine woman down in Ecuador. And I was on a retreat and she was doing limpias or clearings. And she stopped everything and she said, I see shamanism in you. Come live with me. We'll activate this and we'll learn together. And I thought, well, if this woman sees something in me, maybe there's really something here. I had this intuition and this guidance from different guides that I should study mysticism and shamanism. And so to have this woman say this to me, it was one of those like, someone believes in you enough that you start to believe in yourself moments for me. But I still wasn't really connected to my voice. I was singing mantra in different yoga teacher trainings and I was doing things to use my voice. And I knew there was a connection there, but I didn't understand the extent of it. So Mama Rosa, and I'm wrapping up here, but Mama Rosa is a midwife and she invited me into a delivery. And during that delivery, the woman was very young. It's an indigenous community there. So it's very typical to have a very young mother. And so she was very young and very scared. And Mama Rosa looked at me and said, you have to sing to her. And I remember the thoughts that went through my mind were one, I'm going to hurt her. So that fear of hurting someone, I'm going to hurt her. Two, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know what to sing and why, right? Nobody wants to hear that. And then Mama Rosa looked at me again and said, you need to sing to her. And so I did. And you could see her whole body just start to relax when I started to sing, which, by the way, regardless of me, that is the power of music. It has the ability to shift all of us. So the next day, I went to check in on her and the mother and her baby, and she asked me to sing to the baby again. And she said, "When you sang, it took the pain away." And when I heard that, it was this unlock, like, how selfish of me to not use my voice when I see something or when I can help someone, even if I don't understand exactly why that might be. And if I had allowed those fears and those doubts to stop me, this woman would have been in more pain. And I had the opportunity to be medicine for her in the same way that we all, like, I believe that all of us have medicine to offer the world. And that when we're not activating our voices, we're being selfish because we're holding back the medicine that somebody else needs. And so it wasn't right away that felt really confident in my voice. I was still self-abandoning, and I still do that sometimes, right? We're all still learning, even as a coach in this world, right? There's always a next level of that. But what I became aware of was I was self-abandoning. I wasn't speaking up. I was saying yes when I meant no, especially with men. That showed up in my life because, again, I wanted love, right? So that's how it showed up until I did a leadership training in Austin, Texas, about 3 or 4 years ago. 4 years ago, probably now. And when I was in Austin, I realized I wanted to be a star. And what that meant was I wanted to shine bright. And I had been dimming my light because I was afraid that I wouldn't use my voice to say no in situations where I'd want to. And I was afraid of taking up too much space or hurting someone. So once I started to sing again, and that's what being a star also meant, it meant I was going to release music. And so music started to come through me as I was starting to activate my voice more and more, especially in relationship to men. Go figure. And as that was happening, I started singing more. And I believe that what stops us from singing is the same thing that stops us from sharing our message and just being our authentic selves in the world. So as I started to sing more, my authenticity started to unlock, my channel started to open, my voice started to become more powerful, more potent. I understood resonance, harmony, dissonance, all of these concepts that we say in common language, right? But that really mean something about the fabric of existence. And so through all of those experiences and through sharing my music and my voice, and then ultimately finding soul songs, um, I started to unlock that voice.
Mm.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
I wanted something that I just wanted to say real quick before, um, Lauren, I want to hear from you, what you have to say. But like one thing that came up differently when you said it was that, and you said this before, and I didn't catch it, but that, there was this fear of I'm going to hurt someone with my voice. And on the literal opposite, the woman that needed you the most said you took the pain away.
Literally.
Like
Yeah.
the actual other side. Like, no, no, no. It's
Yeah, I
it's
don't know if I've ever thought of it that way. It's so true. It's like it's amazing the way the mind will convince us of the opposite in
yes.
order to keep us from sharing our gifts. And I think, Lauren, you were kind of speaking into that in terms of the open versus the closed centers. And so it's really pretty wild. I don't know that I've ever really made that connection, that it was literally me feeling like I was going to hurt her. And then the actuality was that I not only didn't hurt her, but I helped her hurt. I helped the pain she was in.
You took
Yeah,
it away.
took it away.
Her words,
Took it away.
you took it away.
Yeah, I took it
Yes.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
What
but that
what
is the power of music, not just my voice, it's everyone's voice. And our voices have the capacity, first and foremost, they were literally designed to heal us. Our voice has codes, medicine, if you want to call it that, but ultimately it has a frequency that is in service to the frequency we are here to transmit in the world. Everything is frequency, and we have a resonance that we're here to put into the world, a unique song. And so we can actually use our voice to attune to that and to heal when we're sick, when we're unwell. And it's not to say that that's the easiest path, but it is one of the most powerful paths for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wild stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What jumped out at me is, gate 25, which you have in your, unconscious north node. You don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
It's legitimately the gate of the shaman, the gate of the priestess.
Mm,
Well,
cool.
the no Lauren, the North Node is important. Why is that important?
Well, yeah, well, first, in the world of human design, it is about, your nodes are the path that you're walking in life, and, the south node, you cross over into from south to north, around I would have to look somewhere in the 40s, like, anywhere from, like, 38 to 44, you're kind of going from one direct and it's not like you're walking south and all of a sudden you head north. It's more of just kind of how the life path is here to unfold, and as you grow into your maturity, and I simply mean that as you just get older and you cross over into this direction, that shaman, that priestess, that way, and we'd have to look at it in tandem, but that one specifically is kind of where you're headed, and what
Mm,
and part of the contribution that you learn about being in the environment you're here to be in.
mm, thank you.
To your and on this on the unconscious side, right? That's your spiritual imprint, your soul imprint
Mm,
as well. Is perfect. And that's what was coming up for me as well. Again
mm,
with this, what you mentioned about, what a soul song is, and I'll have you tell us what that is in a minute too, but that you literally are hearing music around people,
yeah.
right? And like
Like a
channeling,
crazy person, yeah.
right? You know what? Whatever. We'll call it a form of synesthesia. Uh
Sure. Let's go with that. Let's go with
we'll
that.
put a scientific term to it.
Love it.
But when you're hearing music, one, your intuition, right, is coming up here. That gate of the shaman, the priestess is coming in here. But then also that undefined throat, all of our undefined centers are undefined centers when we understand them, when we decondition from the throat specifically. I have to get attention. I have to, all of
Mhm,
the not self features of our undefined centers, they become such a seat of wisdom
mm,
in our charts, because it's where when we walk into a room, our undefined centers are where we are taking in information from
huh?
everyone around us.
Yeah, that lands. I mean, in terms of how I experience and share soul songs, that totally lands.
Right. And
Yeah.
so that's exact as soon as that like came up too, I was like, that literally that's when you get out of the way, when you're like,
Exactly.
you get out of I need attention.
Yep.
When that is quiet, you have the space to allow other people's voices to be heard as well. You feel it and you channel it. Lauren, what was
Well,
that?
that and the wisdom of the undefined throat is being able to hear who's speaking their truths and who isn't.
Yes. Yeah.
And this idea of a soul song, and you talk about frequency, I mean, good Lord, everything. I'm so right there with you. Everything is
Yep.
a frequency.
Yep.
And I would venture to guess and would love your perspective is that when you meet someone, you probably can feel as if they're tuned to their true frequency or they're not.
Yeah. Um, everything is frequency. And when we're tuned to it or not, like our truth, there is a certain dissonance
Yes.
that I sense for sure. And sometimes I embody, it's like it's not a judgment, it's just an experience, right? Um, it was the undefined throat that we're talking about, right?
Mhm.
So I do think I started channeling a little bit while you were sharing. So sometimes it takes me a second to like come back and be like, what were we just talking about? What I hear is what people are saying, but also what's underneath what they're saying. And so sometimes someone will say something and it's been an issue at points in my life because someone will say something and I don't hear what they've said. I've heard something else that is probably a little bit more what they meant. And then sometimes it might just be that I'm distracted. Like that totally happens too. But there are times where it doesn't sound like I can't hear what the words you're saying because it's so dissonant from what your energy is sharing. And this is there's a couple things, like, there's a couple directions I wanna go with this. One, specifically with soul songs, I try not to hear them all the time because there was a point where I was just going crazy, and I find a lot of highly sensitive people will do things. You mentioned in the chart there's something around, like, avoidance, right, of emotions and things like that. There are a lot of highly sensitive people in my experience that will go to addiction and to different methodologies to avoid all of the sensitive information that's coming in at all the times, and I do feel like that is something that I have experienced. There are times where I get to shut down and just decompress and almost, like, numb out for a little bit, and I'm sure there are some healthier strategies and some that I've developed, and then there are some that have been really supportive, um, and when it comes to soul songs and feeling that or hearing that, just so that people know, anyone who interacts with me, I'm not listening to your song unless I have permission and or spirit tells me I must, right? Like, there are some times where I can't help it, it just comes through, and that's when I know, okay, I'm supposed to help that person, or, like, because again, like, I usually at this point in my life will wait for the invitation to the extent that I can. And there are some times where spirit's the one inviting me and saying, "You gotta go." Right. And so in those moments I will hear the song, and I the story I tell myself is that yes, I can sense when something is true or something is dissonant or untrue. And just to geek out a little bit on science for just a minute, when you think about frequency and sound frequency, for example, there are what's called destructive interferences. So that's something where two sound waves will come together, and rather than amplifying each other, they're going to cancel each other out or somehow minimize each other. And so that happens inside of ourselves. And this is like when somebody might be screaming from the rooftop, but nobody's hearing them. Like, you could have the right message, but there's something inside of you that's canceling it out, even though you're sharing it. And so this is where attunement to our song and to the frequency of what we're sharing is really important, such that there's resonance, there's harmony, so that it's amplified in a way that lands with people. So if inside of me, I am holding on to a belief that isn't in integrity with my, or in harmony with my vision, with my essence, my why, it's going to be very difficult to have the flow and the impact that I'm here to have. And so, to answer, Hannah, I think your question around the throat and or your comment around feeling people's voices and, like, letting that be heard or coming through me, when it comes to soul songs, it's really cool because it does feel like the more, Lauren, like you said, I can get out of the way. And it's so important that I get out of the way because in the beginning, when I was first channeling them, swore first of all, I swore I was going crazy. Second of all, I really cared what other people thought. And so I wanted to perform back to, like, young version of myself. I wanted to perform a soul song. I wanted it to be beautiful. I wanted them to like it, and it needed that to be successful. The more that I grow and develop this skill and understand what it wants, because soul songs itself, that's its own spirit, its own essence, its own vision in the world, right? I have to get out of the way. And I'm still the co-creator with it, right? But Marnie's ego gets to get moved to the side, and when that happens, it does feel like it's not me coming through my voice. It's something else. It's not like something else is taking over me. It's like, no, I'm connecting into spirit. I'm connecting into this higher consciousness that comes through. And I know that because when people hear their songs, they resonate, and it leaves people feeling seen. It leaves people feeling attuned. It leaves people with a deeper voice or less pain in their body. And so, yeah, it does feel like other people's essence can be processed through my throat and through my voice. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, okay, so I'm mindful of the time and making sure
Uh-huh.
we make time for everything. I wanted to know though, and of course, if you're listening, like there's so much. Like there's so we could go so much deeper. And we've gone through a lot. But Marnie, I wanted to just ask, before we kind of like pivot into a little bit more like what you got going on and different things like that.
Totally.
Do you have any other questions? Is there anything that's been
Oh.
like burning of like, I want to know what this means, or I want to know why this is happening, or I want to know, about my right angle cross of Eden, or any, is there anything like burning
Well, I
question that's
do
coming up?
there's two things. One would be relationally. I'm curious what my chart says about me in relation with others because I think the projector has a element of how it can best relate and also when it can be a little chafing to other people. As much as I try, it can be a little chafing sometimes. Um but yeah, the right angle cross of Eden, I've heard it or I've read it that it's like the intention or the purpose is to create heaven on earth. And I love that as an intention. And I'm curious what other interpretations of that there may be or that what you guys see there.
Oh. Oh, okay. Well, a couple of things. Before I dive into specifically what you just said, you wouldn't be able to do what you do if you had a defined throat.
Mm,
The idea that other voices are coming through you. If you had a defined throat, you'd have a very fixed and reliable way in which you use your voice or project your voice.
right.
So and just being able to hear how someone utilizes the wisdom of an open center is absolutely amazing, and how unique it is to each individual person. Because yes, we could say it is about, the wisdom of being able to hear someone else's truth, but also the ability to actually channel that through yourself. So I just
Mm,
wanted to point that out and reflect that back.
thank
Um,
you.
and Hannah, dive in after relationally too. So relationally, it all depends on who you're in a relationship with. Um, Looking from a projector, so I'll speak very generically. Projectors are best paired with generators, whether it's a
Ah,
manifesting generator or pure generator. And as a projector, you don't necessarily need to know or care about that. Sorry, as I'm talking, I'm also looking for the page of what your right angle cross is. So I'm just kind of do two things at one time.
love that for you.
But it is about, so again, going back to your type as a projector and you being able to see truly into the identity of someone else. When we think about how other auras work, so generators or manifesting generators, it doesn't matter. We'll use that holistically, is that we have open and enveloping auras. So we are constantly pulling things into us. And
Mm,
if you think about an open and enveloping aura and a penetrating aura, you can just think of it like a puzzle piece. Like the puzzle piece is the open end, right? And then a projector is kind of coming in and filling that, right? And,
yeah.
and recognizing that you have the ability to get in there and kind of see around so long as you're invited.
Hmm.
Right. And that's not necessarily always the case. The idea being that once someone invites you into their life, like the invitation is open until the invitation isn't. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, if you're thinking about it from a manifestor's aura is repelling. It's like, no, no,
Hmm.
no, get out of my world. Now that doesn't mean that manifestors and projectors can't be together. I mean, Hannah, personally a manifestor and projectors that are together, and it's simply all about how the energy comes together and how you understand that. And then reflectors, I mean, reflectors are at they have no definition in their chart. So they're always open. So I can see it working, with a projector and a reflector as a projector gets in there and kind of sees what the reflector is sampling. But for you specifically, it is all about how the energy with you and the other person comes together. And that's what makes it so beautiful and unique is that once you understand your own energy, you have the opportunity to take a moment to understand the other person's energy. And, for you as a projector, you're always in there digging and looking and
Yeah.
seeing. And, you learn more about yourself as a projector by
Hmm.
interacting with the energy of other people.
So true. So true. And yeah, I'm really curious about how this also reflects into work relationships, how I'm interacting with employees and people that I work with.
Yep.
And the interacting with clients, I pretty much that one I understand. The team side of things, I'm always super fascinated, especially from the leadership lens and just team and organizational effectiveness. I'm really fascinated by this. So it's very cool.
Yeah, we take like we look at that all the time.
Hmm.
Again, it's super fascinating, and we've even been um, kind of exploring what that looks like, even with like the design of the business and like the people within the business, and that's been a really fun
Yep.
exploration lately. Um, but one thing, and Lauren, maybe we can talk about, because I'm like I want to talk to you about this. That building on one of the things you said, Marnie, was that
Yeah.
um, dissonant waves can cancel each other out,
Yes.
and when like um the physics of that, like, right?
Yes.
That's not woo, that's physics.
It's
Um,
physics. It's
right.
wild, but it's
Uh,
physics. Yeah.
but in the human design connection charts, when you are in connection with someone else,
Yeah.
you can have electromagnetic channels. So where like I have half and you have half and they meet,
Yes, yes, yes. It creates a whole.
it'll create the whole channel, but they can be harmonic, they can be
Uh-huh.
resonant, or they can be
Yeah.
dissonant.
Yeah.
And so if
Wild.
those are dissonant, that it just made like I am so curious now. I'm like, what if there's actually like the physics of that is
Mhm.
is encoded, right? Like what if we're like we have electromagnetics, but if they're all dissonant, we're like canceling each other out instead of
Yeah.
supporting one another. Like,
I think that I'd be really curious to hear what you find with that. I do notice it on the emotional energetic level, with the belief systems that are dissonant or incompatible. And within, I have a course called Voices, and within Voices, we go through different modules to understand and activate the voice. And in one of those modules, it's called Embodied Harmony. And the idea is that everything, like harmony to me, is the optimal state where it's two sovereign parts, at least two sovereign parts, coming together to create something entirely new. So 1 + 1 = 3. And I think that that's what a lot of us as humans are looking for, that belonging, but also the ability to still be sovereign. Who am I? And when, where was I with that? Wow. This is the channeling thing. It's like, I just came back.
dissonance.
Um,
Dissonance and
Dissonance.
resonance.
Yeah. So when something cancels out inside of ourselves, whether it's a belief or a way of behaving. So I'll give you, like, I'll out myself. What's honest, true, and harmonic for me is having an incredibly, like, simple, clean space. What is dissonant but also true for me is that my ADD brain loves piles, right? And so sometimes when I'm like, hey, I'm really committed to my vision, I get to look at my life. Where am I actually embodying harmony with that vision such that that vision can, like, thrive? So in the same way that there's destructive interference, there's also constructive interference. And that's where something's amplified. And that's what resonance is. That's what harmony is. Resonance is the same thing amplifying the same, like the same wave amplifying the same wave. Harmony is two separate, or two different or distinct sound waves amplifying each other. And so to create embodied harmony means looking, in the course we have a matrix for how we look at it, but essentially, it's where in our physical reality, in our relationships, in our actions, in our beliefs, are we out of harmony with the vision we're committed to creating in the world? And I think that that can be applied everywhere in our lives to anything.
Mm, I love
Yeah.
that. Well,
Mm.
Lauren, can you address the right angle cross of Eden real quick, and then we
Yeah.
will,
Mm.
Yes.
and
Sorry,
and then
I
we'll
found it.
yeah, then we'll get to tell us everything that you're doing and where people can
Mm,
find you.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yes, and Marnie, I have to say, in the traditional world of human design, I have never heard to bring heaven to earth, though I'm not opposed to that as
Oh,
part of the
yeah.
purpose. Um, so with gate 36, line 1 being your personality sun, that's the gate that like your purpose is channeled through. So when you read the right angle cross of Eden,
Mhm.
inexperienced people looking for excitement or new experience who eventually embody wisdom and grace through loss of innocence.
Mm. Plenty of that, for sure.
And you know your incarnation cross comes in the quadrant of us of initiation. So meaning that your purpose is fulfilled through mind, that you are here to support others in understanding who they are as individuals.
Mhm.
That you're channeling, your own purpose, your own light, your own energy and supporting others. Like when we look at that from a very broad perspective, the quarter of initiation is all about purpose fulfilled through mind and supporting
Mm,
others. What does it mean to be you inside this physical form? So to your
mm,
point, the sovereignty of who am I, though not losing, because the other part of that is when you look at the other side of your chart, if you look at um, gate 11 and gate 12, they're going to be on the opposite side. So gate 11 is going to be in the quarter of bonding. So for purpose fulfilled through form. And that's not necessarily you, but what I'm saying is when you look at it from a sovereignty standpoint, the flip side of the coin is, well, how do we all do it in connection to other people
mhm.
and to everybody else on the planet?
Yeah, that's a really big one for me in terms of why I think I'm here. Um, I believe that music can absolutely heal individuals, and I also believe it can heal the world. And that a big part of activating our voice so that we can create the music of life is to be in community because we are all in an orchestra. And one of my favorite, like most mind blowing phrases is universe, one song. So it's in the name of the experience that we're having that we are creating, co creating music. We are part of an orchestra. And so our songs, each of us is an individual song, but those come together to create something bigger. And so you can't tune a symphony as individuals, they come together to attune together. And so creating community through, for me, through music and through the intention of activating and sharing our messages in the world is how I do it. But it does feel really resonant that it's not meant to be done alone, especially leadership. There's this myth that leaders are alone. And that is a self fulfilling prophecy for those that adopt that belief. But if you allow yourself to, as a leader, be held by other leaders, it's one of the most powerful opportunities for transformation and for the elevation of your leadership and the leadership of those that are supporting you and being supported by you. So that's my take on all of that. Thank you
Yes.
for sharing.
Absolutely, and I misspoke, it's not gate 11, gate 6 would be in the quarter of 3, the quarter of bonding, so you don't have to worry about that, I'm
Which
just
you also have that though. You have gate 6.
yes. Yes, yes, that's what I'm saying, gate 6, she's grounded in the quarter of bonding,
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that it's not
beautiful.
just about one person, it is about everybody together.
Amazing. Yeah. There was so much you were talking about. I can't wait to, get to learn more from you guys around the surrender the channel and things like that. I'm like, what is that? How do I do that more? There's
That's
so much
a
in terms of surrender. Yeah.
I have that exact same, channel in that
Mm.
configuration as far as see if the on the 44 on off of the spleen, it's red and black. So
Mhm.
it's got
Mhm.
unconscious definition and conscious definition, and
Mhm.
then the 26 that it connects to is purely unconscious. Mine isn't on the exact same placements on your chart, but it's that same configuration
Mm.
of fully unconscious with a nice little conscious piece on the 44. And yeah, I have like studied this and most of the time it's like there's nothing to study. You just let the fuck go.
Literally, it's that simple. Just surrender. Stop trying to understand it. That's the whole point.
What are
Surrender.
what are you having a chokehold right now that you need to
Right.
let go of?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh God. A
the
lot.
surrender
A lot.
mechanically, the surrender is surrender your willpower to
Yeah.
your intuition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes,
Oof,
which is not very easy at
Oof.
all.
I love it though.
sounds easy, but yes,
Sounds easy.
it's such a practice. Well, Lauren, can you take
Yeah,
that or
unshare.
stuff, yeah, so
Yes,
that we're a
100%.
little bit bigger. And then Marnie, I
Yeah,
would love for you to take these last few minutes to tell us
Yeah.
what you have that's coming up that's new, and how people can, you know, do this work with you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for asking. Thanks for inviting me to share. So, I love supporting leaders who have a powerful message that get to be shared in the world. And so the ways that I do that, one is by helping them hear their soul song. And so you can think of a soul song like a walk on song, or if you're a speaker, for example, you can also think of it like a siren song, where if someone else were to hear it, they can feel who you are and be attracted, resonate, harmonize with that and come in. Or for you specifically, it's a tuning fork. And so it helps to reattune to your truth. And so, for example, if you say yes when you mean no, or you're feeling like the connection to your purpose is disconnected, this is a really powerful way to reattune to your purpose, to yourself. And they're just really cool to hear. I mean, it feels like a warm hug. It's great. But soul songs are really important. I really think everybody gets to hear their song, and not just for themselves, but everything has a soul song. So your relationship has a soul song. I walked my friends down the aisle to their soul song, like we sang them down the aisle, and it literally creates the frequency of what's possible because we're putting that sound vibration into the world. It creates like almost this embrace for them to be embodying that frequency of their relationship and what's possible there. So that was really cool. But yes, relationships have it. Your business, your vision has a frequency. It has a song, and you attuning to that, your team attuning to that. For example, if you have a team and you want to get coherence, music is a super powerful tool for that. Soul songs is a super powerful tool for that. So, okay, look, that's a little bit about soul songs. And I would love everyone to hear their soul song because it's just so special. And we can either have them fully produced, which means we work with a production company and we get like all the music and it's really great, or you can just hear your song and have that for your meditations and for yourself. The second way that people work with me is in community. So I create communities every which way I go, and a lot of them are virtual because I travel a lot. So we have a community specifically for voice activation. And once a month, I host something called a community soul song. So everyone's essence comes together on a screen. Actually, the next one's tomorrow. You're both invited as my guests. The next one's tomorrow, but we come together on screen for 45 minutes to breathe, to do visualizations, and to hear a song that is basically being asked of by that community in that moment. And community soul songs, which I also do in person at retreats and events and things like that, and I host my own workshops around them. But the reason I like the online one is because these soul songs, they are a reflection of our individual songs coming together. And the medicine that each of us carries that we contracted on a shamanic soul level to share with somebody else can be transmitted through sound and through the song that's coming through. So these are really cool experiences. I've been getting a lot of feedback recently on the in-person ones as well, that the more people come to these songs, the more unlocks in their voice because people behind the screen can actually start to sing and share their voice with a little less like hesitation or fear of being heard. And then in person, it's really cool to see people unlock and let the song kind of take over and then see where it goes. It's actually incredibly magical. So, yes, you can join the online community or community soul song. And then one that's really active right now is in July. We are starting a group cohort to go through the voices process, which is for leaders who are committed to sharing their message and ready to take that next level of impact. So whether that's the bigger stages or it's larger audiences or it's partnerships that are going to be more supportive, having a voice that resonates at the frequency of that next level is critical because what gets you to where you are now is not the same as what's going to get you to where you're going. And attuning to your message is critical because now more than ever, those of us that have heart centered messages are needed. The frequency of your message is needed to shift this dissonant song that we're collectively singing right now, where there's so much war and division. To shift that into a harmonic song, your message is needed. And if you aren't sharing your message, there is a void that's being filled by somebody else. And so someone is literally waiting for your voice to unlock so that they can hear you and receive you. So, Voices starts in July. And if you're interested, I would love to have a chat and see if you're a good fit for our community. But it's a bunch of leaders coming together to attune to their why so that there's not static, it's clear and it drives them forward. And then they can share it in a way that's impactful. So that's what I've got going on and different ways to work with me.
Oh my gosh, Marnie, thank you so much for being
Yeah.
here today. This was so much fun. For anyone
Thanks for having me.
listening, yeah, all of the links to find Marnie are going to be in the show notes. Um, and go seriously, go check her out. Like the website is beautiful.
Thank you.
The work that you do is beautiful. You also have a
Thank you.
Spotify.
I
Uh,
do. So that is one other way that you can work with me
Check it
is
out.
through my music. I do perform at festivals and corporate events and things like that. Like I love to go in and bring this consciously curated, frequency oriented music into spaces to create fun and really enjoyable experiences, especially dance ones. Um, but if you're not able to come to one of my live concerts or experience me in person, go on Spotify or any streaming platform. Right now, the name is Sisters Divine. I'll probably be releasing some of my soul songs under Marni Mae as well. But right now, you can find everything under Sisters Divine.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Marnie. It was so good to have you. This was so much
Thank
fun.
you for having me. This has been a blast. I love it. I love what you stand for. Thank you for the work that you're putting into the world in such a authentic and integrous way. Mm.
Thank you. We will end it there because it's so perfect. Thanks again.
All right.
Bye, friends.